Scooter Maven. He travels the world in search of adventure and new scooters to ride. Each week we check in with the Scooter Maven. He's been from Tokyo to Moscow and back. World leaders want to meet him, celebrities want to be him, but all he cares about are scooters. Fame, money, fortune. These are not the things a Scooter Maven cares about. He loves scooters.
So we have to think outside the box. Where are we today? We're in a situation where when you go out there, you've got to work with respectable companies. And what I mean by that is companies that observe that 15-30 rule. People are desperate for money. They're going to step over to dealer. And if I stand for anything, it's for the little guy. Because you should observe that 50-30 rule. I always did. I spent a ton of money on compliance. There's companies that do. I know Tomos does. I know Piaggio does. I know Kimco does. Few cities can sustain a year-round scooter shop. It's very, very difficult. They've built that community. If you don't do what Josh said, you don't reach out, and at least try. You don't have to be loved by everybody. You don't. We're not here to be loved by everybody. You're here to be in business. And that's the first thing you really have to realize. Every guy that comes in and tells you, I want a discount. If you don't give me a discount, I'm vice president of this, I'm going to write something negative about you online. Who cares? You tried to give him, you gave him, hey, that's my price, I give you a discount, I'll work it out with you. It's not going to happen. You're not going to be loved by everybody. That's the first thing. You're not going to be loved by all the clubs. He mentioned it. They're not loyal. Some people buy based on price. There's nothing you can do about that. It doesn't mean you should sell at cost. There's a lot of people here at the show selling at cost right now. It doesn't do anybody any good to be in business at selling cost. You're a dealer. Let's get back to the other side. It's a buyer's market. If you're going to go out there and you're going to buy scooters, think about the fact that the distributors are desperate to sell. It's a good time. I just heard something from Piaggio that now is the time to enter the market. You want to enter the you mentioned you want to open a scooter shop and sell your motorcycle store. That's great because you can get better prices now from legit manufacturers than you could have 2 years ago when everybody wanted to buy scooters, when everybody was sold out. Now you can go and negotiate. In Piaggio, it seems like you guys are getting better deals now on the buybacks.
Yeah, we have programs.
But there's opportunity there. And that opportunity can be obtained by anybody, pretty much. There's markets where all the Vespa dealers pulled out. So, and there's a lot of buyback bikes. Now, you don't necessarily, excuse me, I'm going to go into this, but you can buy Vespas at the auction. You can buy Vespas on Craigslist. You can buy Vespas from your competitor. Your competitor is not your enemy sometimes. I've learned that. Sometimes your competitors are your friends. They might have a job. Their store might close down the street. Hire him. Work it out with him. Hey, bring your database. Give me your dealers, the people you sold the bikes to, the scooters. Let's work together. You're about to close. I'll buy the bikes. And you can merge. It's about that synergy that happens even in the down market. So one thing is, when you're buying parts at the auction, the scooters at the auction, pick out brands that you might be familiar with or you know there are parts. There's consolidation going in this industry right now. Again, I'm not plugging myself, but it's true. I have been consolidating a lot of companies, and there's a reason behind that. Because some of these companies, and Thomas will know, we were upstairs on the second floor. There's no second floor anymore at the show. Half the people that were around me are now, and there's a reason for that. Those were bikes that established brand names. If you see a CPI at the auction, or United Motors, or 3,200 United Motors of America scooters, vehicles just went to the auction this year, MPA auctions. People are going to buy them. They're brand new. Next year, they're going to need parts. Where are they going to get the parts? So if you buy one at the auction for $300, you pay $150 or whatever for the paperwork, $200 to ship it to your store. You bought it online at the auction. You can buy it online at the auction. You just got a bike for a third of the cost 2 years ago. Then you can sell it even for $1,200, and you make your money. It pays to buy scooters at the auction, or it pays to buy scooters from somebody that's going out of business. I know it's sad. I know it's a terrible thing, but this is renewable part numbers, an insane number of part. Yes, sir.
Your last slide said,
yeah.
Few cities can sustain year-round scooter shop, and then underneath you said diversify.
Yes.
Besides diversifying in brands, what other diversification?
Be a destination. A good friend of mine that just passed away, I mentioned him earlier, he wanted to build a chain of stores that were destinations. They weren't just stores. They were a place where you hung out. Great guy here in the showroom, Colin over there for New Scooters for Less. He's building a destination point. There's no other store in Gainesville, Florida, where he's at. There's a gentleman back there if you want to talk to him. He actually has 3 couches in this shop. I thought it was one. He just told me today there's 3. puts TVs up. It is a hangout. People want to get their service there. So you could go anywhere for oil. You can buy oil at Walmart for $2. But you know what? If I'm going to hang out with people that are going to treat me nice and I'm going to watch TV and sit on the couch, I'll pay $5 for that oil because I'm in a place where I can buy a soda, I can get an espresso, and that's an alternative source of income for the store. Make your store a destination. So my friend Peter, who passed away, Peter Ward, was making destinations. You wanted to go there on a Saturday and hang out. You wanted to see this amazing museum not everybody can build a museum with 300 scooters, but you can put a vintage Vespa on the wall. Even if you're not a Vespa dealer, you can still do this. Oh.
Yeah, I don't have a scooter without.
This man knows the culture, and there's lots of brands out there. There's Carrazzo jackets, there's Armadillo, which I'm wearing. There's things that are themed. A jacket's a jacket. I don't care what you wear. It can be first gear or a leather jacket. But a woman that just bought a brand new Vespa or a brand new Kimco isn't going to wear a Harley jacket or a Joe Rocket. She's going to want something a little classier. There's a new company here, GoGo, that's also selling their jackets. I think they're beautiful. And the funny thing about this is that in the rest of the world, these jackets as apparel sells really, really well. I'm exporting more jackets than I'm actually selling to U.S. dealers right now because we don't have that culture that says, let me put up a nice female scooter jacket. And that's the truth. We don't have that culture of saying, here's a display. You got to build that destination point like Peter was doing. So yeah, I would put a couple of jackets. I would put some helmets. You don't have to have 5,000 helmets. Everybody that, and Josh touched on this, that I knew that was coming to the show and buying a container of helmets. They're sitting on them. They're on Craigslist. They're on eBay. They're giving them away for $10, $5. They're losing $30 every time they sell one of those helmets. It's insane what we saw in 2008. But you're right. Those guys weren't building a culture. They weren't building a community. They were just trying to get a cheap helmet. So if you build that, and you got to think outside the box. When I say every town is different, yeah, it could work. Bicycles could work. Skateboards could work. Every town is different. I don't know what's going to work in every town. Because what happens where I live in South Beach, Florida, is not the same as Seattle or San Francisco. Something I will touch on, though, is that we're an industry under siege. And I didn't talk about this yesterday, I'm talking about it today, because I really feel that we're an industry under siege. It's going to be harder to be a dealer. I admire the guy that opens his shop every day, and he has to deal with 10,000 parts and problems, and, it's complicated. You got to do software, mechanics, selling, inventory control. It's a tough business. Scooters are just as complicated as the motorcycle business. It is the motorcycle business. And it's the 1% of the motorcycle business, so it's even smaller. So you have to be tough.